All right, so we're going to get started. If we get interrupted, so be it. So, all right. I'm the instructional coach. My name's Brad Stanfield. I'm the instructional coach at Cedar Edge Elementary. What we're going to do first, and we're real small, which is awesome. What I want you to think about, we're going to just do like a small icebreaker, but a little bit different. What brings you joy? Like in your work, what brings you joy? Why do you do what you do? So I'm going to give you I don't know, you need 30 seconds, minute, think about what brings you joy. And then, we'll share out and we'll find a partner. So take a 30 seconds, come up, what brings you joy? What do you think? What brings you joy? Oh, yeah? What grade do you teach?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade? Oh, very nice.
Doing things with them that they're excited about.
Right? Yeah. It's always exciting when it's like the ones that you don't expect. That that's the one that you get in a lesson, and they're like, I've got you. I don't usually get you, but today I have you, and you're in it and want to do it and be present, and it's like, oh, yes, one day has a week.
Yeah, bringing life to lessons.
Yeah, and watching, it's there's one kid that we always had a problem with in fifth grade, and we come to find out he loves to dance. So anything that you could incorporate, getting in and moving, he was all over it. And it's that in made all the difference, but it's getting to know him on a level that he was willing to share it, totally different kid. So, all right, joy. What brings you joy? Any share outs? It's just what do you have?
Mine is when they get to actually grasp the concept and they're like, oh, that's what that means. And yeah, it's like the light bulb.
Right, the light bulbs. Yes. Anybody else that joy?
You want to share your lesson? I like when they say they hate reading, and then by the end they're like, "That was a good book." That was cool.
Yes. Yes. I think mine, when I think about what brings me joy, is I like to watch both twofold. I like to watch the students make connections, but I also like to watch teachers make connections of that was really a great lesson, and then having them kind of talk through what made it a great lesson. So then they can start plugging in those pieces. And it's just, I don't know, it's a lot of fun to watch those the light bulbs for students and teachers. So here's what we're going. It's cut off, but that's okay. So what we're going to talk about is deciding ways that we're going to do vocabulary words, what words to pick. And then at the end, I'm also going to introduce to you a very simple, routine. It's going to take 10 minutes a day to do, and it builds in reps like nobody's business. So by the end of the day, I'm going to do some talking, we're going to do some discussion, and then I'm going to hopefully give you about 25 to 30 minutes to work on a vocabulary routine that you can put in place tomorrow. Okay, that's kind of the goal. So the agenda, what we're going to talk about, what vocabulary isn't, what teaching isn't, what it is, what kinds of words we're going to be teaching, the weekly routine, and then I actually have a CKLA example that I did, and then hopefully by the time we get there, work time for you to actually dive in and start playing with how to create your own routine. So when I was starting to do this, it started with actually talking with Jen, talking about the 5 pillars of reading and really diving deep into each one of them. So with the initial part that we were going to do fluency, another one on vocabulary, and then the final one, this one, was supposed to be comprehension. What ended up happening is vocabulary really stuck out. So I did fluency, and as I was doing fluency, we switched to vocabulary, and I started realizing I hear this all the time. So one of the things that we started that I heard from my teacher specifically is with CKLA, every lesson has 30 words of vocabulary, which is when you think about 4, maybe 3 to 4 lessons a week, that's a lot of vocabulary words. And how many are actually sticking? Not many, because you're not spending a long time on any of the words, let alone hardly any of them. So which words do we teach? Because there are so many, how do we teach them in a way that actually the kids will understand and they will actually start using them outside of like our CKLA instruction time. Right? We want to make it meaningful, not just like reading the list of words and being like, go forth and conquer, you guys were great. You got all 30 words. We'll see you tomorrow for the next 30. We knew we wanted to help students, right? But we weren't really sure of the best way. So what we wanted to understand is that we can't be wrong in the words that we choose. So if we refine that list and we cook it down, like what I'm going to ask you to do is like 10 words per week, right? At 10 minutes a day, that's going to make those 10 words, whatever words you choose for that week, way more meaningful than they would be if we did all 30 every day. Okay? Having an actual routine that you go through that the kids will actually, regardless of their age, could be fun, but could be advantageous, right? Explicit instruction, practice, routines, all of those things. And then really thinking about what words are we picking, why we're picking them, and having our kids actually start using them outside of like the CKLA, ELA block time, or whatever place we go. Right? What we really wanted to do was make the vocabulary something meaningful for our students, not just something that we touch on and we go and we move on from and check the box, right? We wanted to be more meaningful. So how do we do this? Simple, right? We have to first understand what it isn't. So what it isn't is something that we have actually experienced in our probably going to school, is reviewing a list or the words and hoping things are okay. Hopefully they stick. We went through the words, we did the vocabulary, bam, moving on, right? This is what I think of, because this is what I was exposed to as a kid, is basically hear the words, look them up in the definition, write down the definition, memorize the definition, right? I was never asked to interact with the words. I was never asked to use them in my writing. That's where it stopped. I wrote down the definition and like turned the page and basically like swipe it clean. Don't have to do anything ever again. Okay? This is just me as a teacher. I was always wanting to use wow words, and I realize this now. It's like, when I was teaching writing, I was like, we're going to use wow words in our writing today. Yes! And my kids would be like, cool. What's a wow word? I'm like, don't ask that question, because I wasn't really sure what they were and what words did I really want them to use in their writing. I wasn't really sure what was a wow word. So I was expecting my kids to use wow words, and I had like a board that had wow words on it, right? And so I would be like, I want you to use 3 to 4 words. Problem is, the kids would look at the words and be like, yep, have no idea what that word means, but it's on the wow word. I'm going to plug it in. So I have wow words. So I didn't really know clear expectations what I wanted, and I wasn't really teaching the meaning of those words either, right? And this is the part that I think I'm beginning to see is that I've really focused on the CKLA, ELA side of things. And I was like, oh my gosh, if we got this figured out in our building, K5, if we started building up math and we started doing the same thing, a simple routine, 10 words every week, and we started K5, we started building in it for math, right? Imagine the depth of vocabulary we could have by the time they get to 5th grade. We could really refine the words. Same thing for ELA and CKLA. So this is the part that I was relying on as a teacher, relying on incidental exposure, right? As they're reading, they're going to get vocabulary words. Why teach them explicitly? Because the more they read, the more words they're exposed to, and voila, they'll have a great vocabulary, right? Not really so much. So then we're going to kind of jump into vocabulary, right? As I was talking about before, when you talk about the 5 pillars of reading, it's phonological awareness, it goes to phonics, then it goes to fluency, then it goes to vocabulary, which then goes to comprehension. Without vocabulary, a depth of vocabulary, it really makes comprehension, what they're reading, really hard to understand, right? So this is an important part that as a teacher, I'm trying to really build into my teachers, especially 4-5, that's like, yes, now we have the words. We understand that they're reading at such a pace with such accuracy. What we really need now is start building in the vocabulary. How are we going to grow that vocabulary so that they can be have better comprehension? Okay. Obviously, vocabulary is the ability to understand the meaning of words, which is their understanding comprehension go really well together. If you don't have one, it's really hard to understand the passage. Even if they can read it, the comprehension is probably not going to be very good. Okay. Have you guys ever heard of the Matthew effect? Ever before, the Matthew effect? Okay. So basically, the idea of the more reading they do, the more vocabulary they pick up, right? Which is good to think about, right? The more the books they read, the more time they spend in text, the better vocabulary they have. Well, the Matthew effect is just that. The more you read, the more words you're exposed to, the better vocabulary you have. But it's also true for those students who, we all know them, don't like to read, or it's hard, right? So are they going to spend time reading at home? Probably not. They are not going to have the same vocabulary exposure as those good readers that we do know. So this is kind of a crazy chart. So this is outside. This here is the number of minutes spent outside of school reading, and this is the number of words over a course of a year, right? So those ones who read they're exposed to a lot of different words. Those ones who are hardly reading, there's a huge difference between those two numbers, right? So that's the part of, we just need to have our kids reading more. Yes, but those kids who aren't reading or that it's difficult, they're not getting the same exposure to those words. Okay? So that's where explicit instruction comes in. We have to be teaching some of these vocabulary words. We have to teach them, right? We have to expose them. We have to not only expose, but practice, repetitions, using them, make it so it's a more meaningful thing for them than just a task that I read the words, move on. Okay? Just like this. This is kind of where having that explicit instruction, that routine, really makes a difference. And I'll show you, I built an example that we'll go through. But really making it explicit, like looking at the syllables, the type of word, the part of speech, the definition, and a hand motion is all part of a routine that takes, depending on how many words you want to do, no more than 10, obviously, because that gives you that 10 minutes. But repetitions, right? We know with STL, the more reps you get, the better off you're going to remember it. So the more times you bring it back and have to use it, the more likely you're going to remember them. Okay? This reinforces that point that we just can't be willy-nilly with how we approach those pieces, that we have to really be systematic in the words that we choose. And we can't be wrong. I really want to reinforce that because so many times I hear my teachers like, which words? How many words? What do I do? Where do I go? It's like, you can't go wrong. If you explicitly teach 10 words a week, you can't go wrong, right? You can always change the words the next week and try something different. But at least teaching those 10 words, those kids should have them really, really well. Okay? We can't be wrong. It's okay. And if you choose wrong, you always have the next day or the next week to be like, ooh, they already know that one. So maybe that one I can take out. That's okay. That's learning from our instructions, and that's learning from our kids and being like, maybe next year we don't have to use that word. It's totally fine. Okay? This is the part that when I was making my examples, and I'm working with my 4th and 5th grade team, this is the part that caused instant paralysis when I was choosing my words. Because I did not want to be wrong. And I'm like, if I choose the wrong words, not only am I messing up one classroom, I'm messing up 2 4th grades, 3 5th grades, so that's 5 classes that I could totally, absolutely lead in the wrong direction. But I just had to keep working back. It's okay, because what I'm doing with those 10 words is better than what we were doing before, that was basically read them, the list of words, and move on, right? So we can't be wrong. So this is kind of the tiers of words. Tier 1 is like everyday words. Tier 2 is your high utility academic words, and 3 is domain-specific words. So depending on where you are, in my elementary land, we really focus on Tier 2 words because those are going to have transfer, right? They're going to be used in all kinds of content areas. As you go more middle school, high school, maybe you do want to go more domain-specific if you're doing biology or a specific social studies course, right? And same thing for math. Math would be more like Tier 3. But we really want to think about the words that we are teaching. Okay? We get to select them, which is part of the most terrifying part, is that we're in charge. And I think sometimes that carries a lot of weight of like, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to choose the wrong ones, but you can't. Okay? You get to make the decisions. I just really want to bring that out because that's what my teachers keep telling me is like, I don't want to mess up my kids. I don't want to teach them the wrong words. And it's like, I hear you. I really do, because it is like a huge fear. And if we're doing something, is better than nothing, right? 10% challenge. All right, so now this is where your packet comes in. The first page are some of the questions that I was reading a couple different sources and kind of putting them together. This is the one source that has kind of like questions to think through of like how to choose a vocabulary word. And then This is the other one. So what I kind of did was I put them together and made this guy. So you could have kind of like questions as you go through, as you're kind of selecting. I made a hybrid of the two. So that kind of helps like understand kind of like a little bit more of like how to choose your words. And then the other part, do I have that? I don't. Okay. So then if you flip it, I found in those resources, I found a decision-making model because it really helped my teachers to have something that they could like basically break it apart by and be like, okay, is it critical to understanding? And then kind of like work through each vocabulary word that we were talking about so they could help make them make a decision. Because like I said, it sent some of us into instant paralysis of like, I don't know which ones to choose. I have 30 words to choose and 5 lessons and I have to narrow it down to 10. So yeah, of course, take them. I've got plenty of them. So that's kind of like a guide for you guys as you're kind of thinking through which ones you want to use. And I mean, like I've said so many times, it's okay. It's hard. If it was easy, everybody would be cranking them out and it wouldn't be a problem. And I guess this quote spoke to me because I was thinking about my elementary experience, some of my middle school and some of my high school experience that like for the most part, vocabulary was random activities that were like, this is vocab. Here, take this sheet of paper and just like find the definition of the word and go. And it's like refining that from random activities and really building in like a solid routine makes all the difference for like how they're going to remember them. And I promise you the routine that I'm talking about is relatively straightforward. It's simple, especially after you build it and you get in the habit of making them. Okay? As we're thinking about internalizing lessons like we're doing this morning and we're thinking about like the pitfalls, misconceptions, we really also have to think about the vocabulary that are in our units that we're talking about. What is going to stand out? What words do they need to understand at an academic level to be successful? Because if we're skipping over those words, it's going to be really hard for them to be successful in anything we do, right? And so that's where we get to think about, okay, if I'm internalizing a lesson, what vocabulary do I need? Do I want to teach them that is going to benefit them as we move forward? Okay, now we're going to go into the weekly routine, which is the 3rd page. So I'll give you a second to look at that. This is the routine for the week, okay? And so making meaning Monday is basically, right? These are each day there are going to be, I'll clarify. So every day we're going to do this first part every day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You start with this. Even if at the bare minimum, right, we talk about like a 10% challenge, the bare minimum, if you do this, that alone is going to be more reps than just reading a list. Okay, and that's going to be short, sweet, and to the point. What that looks like is slides that would look like this. You have the syllable pronunciation in the top left, the parts of speech at the top, and a picture, the word, student-friendly definition. What I did was I was trying to think about for my teachers is I really thought about, okay, if I want this to be successful, if I want to change or see a light bulb change for vocabulary, what I need to do is really sort through how to make this easy and for teachers to be able to pick it up and use it. So when you finish making meaning Monday, there's usually a graph or a chart like this, and inside would be your 10 words. So at the end, you would just quickly touch base on each word, and then you would move, if you were on Tuesday, you'd go into this specific thing. Okay? So Monday, making meaning Monday, each slide, each word, and then you finish with this every time, Monday through Friday. Tuesday is Thumbs Up Tuesday. So because there's 10 words, I tried to figure out, like when I was looking at words, I really tried to figure out which words I wanted them to quickly go through. So I figured they had to do 4 words if we had 10. So what is going to be is like, say I have a word, we'll do some examples, but I have the word and they have to decide if it is true, if it really is that word. They give a thumbs up and say the word. If it is not, they go not the word and they give thumbs down. Right? So they do that 4 times. Okay? Or however many words. Maybe you don't have 10. 10 is the maximum. Wednesday is which one Wednesday. So basically, I would have the word that is here, and then we'd have an example and non-example, and then basically be like, show me 1 or 2. Which one is the example? And then we go to the next word. We talk about, we say the word, we read the examples, and then again, 1 or 2, 1 or 2. And that's Wednesday. Thursday gets a little bit more on them, so this might take a little bit more time the first couple times, but basically, again, it would be a word, and it would be like three things that the word can be, 3 things that it would do, 3 things that it can be, and that's what they have to come up with, 3 things. So like one of the words that we're doing is slithering is a 5th grade word that we picked in, so it's like 3 things that slither, done, and they have to come up with 3 things that slither. That's it, right? Snakes, bam, right? And you come up with 3 things that slither. And so slither. Nah. So Friday, oh, I didn't put Friday. Dang it. All right. Friday usually is what I had them do is some of my teachers really wanted to focus on the writing portion, is that they had to pick 3 words from the 10, whatever 3 they wanted to, and they write the word in the definition. 3 words, right? Friday. And there's a different way of doing it too if you want to give a synonym or an antonym, right? There's 2 ways you could do it. I focus more on the writing portion because my teachers wanted more of that writing into the words because we know that's also more of that gateway to the long-term memory. 10 minutes a day. Sounds like a lot. We're going to do some. But think about the repetitions. Like we said, instead of reading a list of words every lesson, different words every day, you do the same 10 every day for a week. Okay? Mind-blowing. Okay? This is my favorite part. This is my plug. If you get stuck at any point, use AI. For examples, non-examples, I put in for images, I put in for the hand gestures so I could get an idea of what it would be. I mean, like, it makes it, I guess, is like smarter, not harder, right? So if you're getting stuck, go check it out. See if they can give you an idea to move you along, right? Because why not? Make it simple. All right, so this is my routine. Like I talked about, first time through, it was so hard because I didn't want to mess up, right? So I went through and I listed, and I think I would refine this again. So this is Unit 3 vocab, the first 5 lessons. And if I were to go back and do it again, I would cut it down to 3 lessons because my teachers on average get to 3 to 4 lessons because Friday is kind of like that hot mess day. So I would refine it down. So I probably wouldn't have 10 words to work with, which is fine. If there's only 6 words, that means I can get through my routine faster. Okay? So what I did is I listed all the words out and I figured out which words I wanted to do. And this instant, I was kind of thinking like, okay, there are some tier 1 words that the 4th grade may not know. So I may have to plug that in. There may be tier 3 words that they may need to know that I plug in, right? Can't be wrong. So this is my Making Meaning Monday. So this is what it would look like. All right. Oh, but you can't see it. Ah, that's so frustrating. You know what? We'll make it that way. Okay. So basically it'd be like decent. What is the word? Decent, acceptable, or good enough, okay? It would be like this, decent, decent, or you could clap it, decent. How many syllables? 2, okay? It is an adjective. This is our picture, and this is our hand motion, right? Decent. What is the word? Decent, right? And we would go through each word. This is the next one, lack, to be without. What is the word? Lack. How many syllables? 1, lack, okay? And so we can talk about the picture. We can do can't see it in my current light because we don't have strobe lights anymore. But hand motion, like I did make all of them, and it was an experience. Let me tell you what. So as we go through, right, every day you go through them, fester to grow infected, right? And you do the hand motions together as a crew. You talk about them. But this is the first part of Monday. And so then Tuesday, you do the same things. You go through, you talk about the word, you talk about the definition, syllables, hand motion. Okay? Every word, every day. Is it going to take finding your niche? Yeah, absolutely. Right? But the idea is that the more that we practice, by Tuesday it's going to go quicker. Because we're going to know the words. We're not going to have to spend as much time reading the words. By Wednesday, it'll go even faster. And then we should be getting to where we're clipping through the words really quick because that's what we want is just those repetitions. Okay? Anticipation, same idea. You clap out the anticipation, talk about the definition, talk about the picture, and hand motions, right? Hand motions is like that extra key because I'm going to do a plug for Tucker Moore because he was in here. When was our last star day? Was that January? Oh my gosh. And he was like, okay, so he's like, he was all prepared to start making these, and he started digging into his curriculum, and they already had the words and pictures. And he is like, you know what, you'd be amazed of how important that picture was, because when we start talking about the vocabulary words, and kids would be like, I don't remember the definition, but I remember the picture was, and it was like, beautiful. That representation could mean make that connection for those kids. It could really make or break the vocabulary for them. So I was impressed.
Scientifically, our brains process pictures faster than we think.
Right? So I mean, like that. Maybe I'm gonna quote you next time for my presentation. Be like,
that's out of that one book. I think Stop Talking, Start Implementing.
Okay. Yes. All right. So as we go, like these are just the Monday, every slide.
Did you make the hand motion?
I did make the hand motions. I made them in a GIF, and that's me making a horse. I was gonna have you guys do that, and I was like, they'd probably be like, no. But I mean, you could also, the whole point, right, is like we also know that if we make it fun, our kid's going to be more likely to be engaged in it, probably, right? The more that we make it that novelty kind of thing, the more it's kind of going to be like, yes, let's do vocabulary. So this is that last piece with the words. So then we would go through decent, defer, crave, renaissance, lack, fester, anticipation, preside, leer, steed. So that is the end of Monday, okay? Tuesday comes along, we do all those again, just all the way through. We go through these, and then we go Tuesday. And this is what Tuesday would look like. To lack means to have a lot of something. Thumbs up and say the word, thumbs down and say not the word. Right? So then we go through each one of those. And my thinking was, when I started this, it wasn't this, but I've refined it now, is it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, what I want to do is give an extra rep, right? So I took the 10 words that were above, and I made, so we have 4 here. Wednesday, we'll do 3 more, and then Thursday, we'll do the last 3. So then we go through all 10 again before Friday. So Friday, I don't really have control over the words they pick, but by Friday, they have another rep of all 10 words. Question?
So you have to make this Monday every day?
Every day.
Okay.
That's where we get the reps with the words that we pick.
And then the application spaced out.
Yep, and the application is an extra rep for each word between Tuesday and Thursday.
On Mondays, are you having them write them down, or they just?
It is just saying them and doing them. Someone else asked that, could you have them write it down? Another teacher from the last group was like, could you print that and give that to him? I was like, sure, why not? I mean, like these could also be, I had my ELD teacher who was like, if the teachers wanted to, if these are going to be their wow words, print that off and be like, okay, here you go. These are the words for the week that I want to see in your writing, right? At some point, and maybe it's the week after all those reps, it's up to you. I mean, like really take what you need to, what you want to adapt, those kinds of things. Because again, if the only thing you did were those 10 words or whatever words, and you just did that for the first part every day, think of the reps of those words, whatever words you choose, the reps those kids would get. That's better than what my 4th and 5th grade teachers are doing right now. That's a 10% increase that I would love to see in my classrooms. Yeah?
What do you do on weeks that are wonky like this week coming up? Because obviously Monday, they're going to start.
I would be adjusted. I would just adjust it to wherever you are, and maybe you drop one of maybe you drop.
Do you combine Tuesday, Wednesday? Or
It's up to you. I mean, that's a great question because there's going to happen where there's 4 days or there's something that goes on, and maybe that week, maybe it is you just do, you pick which one you want to do. You pick out of the 3, maybe you only do 2. Maybe Monday becomes Tuesday, and you do Wednesday, Thursday, and then you keep Friday. It's up to you to make that adjustment because it is a good question. It is 5 days, and sometimes we don't have 5 days. So it's kind of like wherever you need it to be, make it yours. So if you really don't want, maybe that week they skip the writing portion. I don't know. It's kind of like whatever you see the best fit for where you want it to be.
But even then, like, it's your bell word too. So I mean, they're saying a repetition of it in a different way.
You could put it in a different place.
Or an exit ticket.
I mean, before they go to lunch, something like that could be a really quick practice, right? To just think about those reps. Friday, okay. So now this is a plug that I am doing with my 4-5. Maybe you do CKLA, maybe you don't. I don't really care. But if you would like to have a finished one, because I have these to where you can see the ones from CKLA, but if you would like, when they are done, because I have worked through, I'm ready to do hand motions for 4th grade for Unit 9, and I'm just about ready to do 5th grade, same spot. So if you want them, they wouldn't be necessarily your words, but if you want to try out a finished thing, just email me and I will give you the link and you can try them out. They wouldn't be the words that you would necessarily want, but you could try it, see what happens.